Welcome to the Claus YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening and very warm welcome to Strategic Frontlines YouTube channel of Center for Land Warfare Studies. And today we have very eminent guests with us. We have Ambassador Anil Dupniat, who has had a very vast experience of having served in the area of the Middle East and Russia, etc. So he has a first-hand experience, and so is our other guest, Major Jan Mehra, who was the defense attaché at Russia and also had additional charge of various embassies around Russia as far as India is concerned. So we couldn't have asked for any better panel than this. So today's topic, as all of you are aware, it is about navigating complex web of NATO, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and the shifting Indo-Pakistan relations. Well, Operation Sindoor has thrown open a lot of can of worms, should I say so, because we are fighting. There are people who are friends are no more friends, or they have taken sides which are slightly not to our liking. Then there are people who are who have actively supported our adversary Pakistan. These are countries like Turkey and Azerbaijan, China, to name a few. And there were people who were there were countries who were supposed to support us. In between, we have also started seeing kind of a pushback against Turkey and Azerbaijan by India through both diplomatic actions and as well as actions by our people of the country. You know, it reminds of the Maldives experience a few months back last year. So, with this particular brief, and also I would like to say that when we talk of NATO by and large is driven by the United States of America. So Turkey earlier was, as I say, in the doghouse of NATO, but of late it seems that Turkey has suddenly gained a lot of prominence. The Times of India article talks about a very, I would say, I won't like to use that word, but underhand interest of US in Turkey, especially related to business, wherein there has been some agreement between firms of President of United States and Terra Holdings, which has come in the Times of India. So, with all this background, where do we see now the relations between US, NATO, Turkey, Azerbaijan impacting the in India-Pakistan dynamics? Or in particular, I would say first we could focus on India, and then we could also look at India-Pakistan dynamics. So without taking any further time, moderators are always supposed to talk less, and the experts supposed to talk more. I will start with Ambassador Trigniat. Ambassador Trigniat, how do you see the emerging dynamics in the region, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and NATO, impacting India in the next, I would say, a year or so? I mean, let's take a short-term view of it, and then we can also cover the long-term view later on in the second round. So, over to you, Ambassador Trigniat.
Thank you, sir, General Dushant Singh, for inviting me to your second channel. Like earlier, I have been present on your Strive Dialogue, which was fascinating.
Yes.
But now on this class also, so it's a great pleasure for me. In fact, in many ways, I think that this war, mini war, as we can say, was symptomatic of the ongoing churn in the global dynamic, especially in the regional dynamic. As you know, in the past 10 years or so, or right, I mean, if we can put precisely from 2008 onwards, we have great change in our relationship model with the West Asia, which is our extended neighborhood, and we are change the dynamic of the relationship from a transactional to a strategic partnership with all of them. Now, in the strategic partnership, one thing that is generally should be a given is that when you are in the docks or you have some problems, then your friends should rise for you. USA is our global comprehensive strategic partner. Russia is our special and privileged strategic partner. We have a strategic partnership with the large number of Gulf and the Arab countries who have even bestowed their highest honor on Prime Minister Modi. So today our relationship is really very important, and it is important from our own perspective, for our own internal stability and security, whatever happens in the Middle East of direct concern to us. As you are aware that until few years ago, before this period, when we had the relationship was merely transactional, for the simple reason that we gave too much of importance to the Pakistan factor and the Islamic connect. In my view, I have always said that we have also failed to inform the Arab world or the Middle East that India is the second largest Muslim nation in the world, including to Turkey, which we could be doing it. Because the Islamic connect, if that is what is the glue with Pakistan, then obviously we could have done a better job on that. Fortunately, it has happened now, both because India is rising and these countries see a lot of value in India, and therefore the strategic partnership and relationship is going. Now, coming to this time, what has happened between India and Pakistan and how the countries have reacted. Now, if you see the most of the statements that have come out was of sympathy with India, and some of our friends, although not openly, except Israel, told that we are with you whatever action you take with regard to terrorism. But none of them condemned Pakistan, which is basically the prime mover of these terrorist acts, not only now, but for the last 40 years. And they all very well know it. They themselves are against terrorism in general, but selectively they use it. So we saw that there was a sympathy, but they were not the statements to our liking. Then we saw two major countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia, trying to take up and wanting to mediate the peace between the two countries. Everybody was talking about de-escalation. Everybody was talking about some kind of an understanding and discussion that could take place between Pakistan and India during this war. And Pakistan, obviously, I mean, the Pakistani leader was there on 22nd, 23rd in Turkey, Shehbaz Sharif, when he had the press conference with President Erdogan. And they have a very, very old relationship. And this is also very much, I would say, embedded in their Islamic connect, which we need to dispense with in times to come if we want to continue to have, or if Turkey wants to continue to have good relations with us. So we saw that there was not an open support to India's actions, but definitely like in Article 370 time, like in the Pulwama Balakot time, they said that it was internal affairs. But this time it was going a next step. So we expected this, but you know that at the same time, President Trump happened to be there in Saudi Arabia, where he was meeting all these Gulf leaders and everybody. So when the statements later on came, in which President Trump took a lot of credit that he's the one who stopped this war, I think that all the countries in the region also said it was the US efforts. Now, that has not been our position. Our position has been very clear that it was a bilateral thing that was Pakistan sought to de-escalate. We were not wanting to de-escalate in that sense, and that's where it stood. And that's when now, to explain our position, we are sending these 7 delegations all across the world, basically, more importantly, to the UN Security Council members. Now, today, as you know, that Pakistan is currently a non-permanent member of the Security Council. So that definitely, along with its ironclad friend China, complicates the matter. And now the US is also showing a little bit of a predilection towards the Pakistani leadership and putting a lot of, his hyperbole about the Pakistan leadership being great and all that. So I think that this is something that we need to understand. Here, we have also seen one more change that has taken place. Is the country that came to our really support fully was the Taliban government in Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is extremely important for us. Our foreign minister also spoke to the Afghan foreign minister, acting foreign minister of Afghan. We also sent a delegation during that period after April 22nd to Afghanistan, the joint secretary level. Now, we have changed our dynamic, as you rightly mentioned, that we have also changed with Operation Sindoor, that is also continuing as long as terrorism from across the border lines continues. So we are in a situation now. We have to see Now, sometimes we tend to be very sensitive. We are always saying one thing, that anywhere there is a conflict, we say that, oh, dialogue and diplomacy must prevail. That's our policy. Continues to talk. Now you're getting the same dose back from all these countries. They say, well, this is your phrasing. So they are saying, no, no, please talk. But talk with whom? Country that is undermining your sovereignty, that undermining your peace, that is inflicting terrorism on you. So that kind of a differentiation is important to tell everybody that what India, which Prime Minister Modi on his May 12 address very clearly identified. So in my view, as I always maintain, that we need to develop our comprehensive power. We need to have friends, but we should think of these relationships, even if they are strategic, as being purely transactional. Get whatever we can get for our benefit in trying to create peace and trying to create our space. Thank you, sir.
Uh, Ambassador Trignath, while you have stated that, very interesting point you made, that we are getting back what we were doing, in the sense that we were telling people to talk and resolve the issues of Russia, Ukraine, or for that matter, Israel, Hamas, etc. And now people are addressing us also in a similar way. Do you think the delegations, the way they have been composed, will be able to help us in getting over this complex dynamics of the Middle East and Turkey and NATO and also Azerbaijan? Because we have sent delegation to Greece. So Greece is being addressed, which is kind of a counter to the Turkey, and similarly, Azerbaijan is also being targeted through its force. So that is Russia, etc. So, do you think this delegation will be able to make an impact in resolving the this particular dynamic, especially the United States of America? Because if these guys push these two actors, especially Turkey, I think Turkey will fall in line. But the way things are, I do not see much of a prospect on that ground. What is your opinion on that?
Well, Turkey, in my view, is unlikely to fall in line as long as President Erdogan is there.
Okay.
I was in Turkey about a week or 10 days before, actually. And when these April attacks took place, I was talking to everybody, while at the grassroots level, and the people who matter in the businesses and otherwise, they all understand that it's important to be part of India's ambit. The political leadership in Turkey has always been supportive of Pakistan, of course, for their own historic reasons. More importantly, Pakistan supports them in northern Cyprus, and recognized that's the only country that has really recognized it being a Turkish enclave. And so, in return, they support their position on Kashmir. Now, I've been telling the Turks, I said, look, you want to be friends with us, you can be friends with Pakistan, we have no problem with that. But at the same time, the questions, the key issues that we have are red lines, that you must be sensitive to them, mindful of them. Stay out of it. That's none of your business. You stay out of it. And if you don't comment on that, we have no problem with you. But at the same time, I mean, I personally believe that it is because of Trump. Likewise, Azerbaijan is under the grip of basically Turkey. And therefore, Turkey and Azerbaijan, I mean, in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict with Armenia and all that, Turkey has stood with them. Ironically, Israel also supported Azerbaijan in that. And Pakistan is a very close ally of Azerbaijan and Turkey both. So that kind of a nexus there. So they were very clearly, openly supporting Pakistan. In fact, condemned India's attacks on the terror camps, even to that extent. So therefore, it will take some time before we can improve the relations. Economic relations are going to suffer because today we are having the boycott of both tourism and trade, against tourism and trade to Turkey, which was significant actually. And that's why I told, keep telling Turkey friends that, look, you must do your cost benefit analysis if the national interest is the fundamental principle of any foreign policy. So you see whether it is good for you to be with a failing state, a terrorist sponsoring state, or with an emerging economy, the emerging economic power in the world, which is the fourth largest economy in the world. So this is up to them now. But we have to presume that they are no longer going to be in our friendly orbit. So therefore, we go beyond different places. So that's why all these delegates, 7 delegations which are going to convey and tell, because Kashmir is a different thing. It's an integral part of India. But the issue that we are talking about is Turkey, is terrorism. And therefore, they have mixed up the two. Now, as you have seen, and many of the, including President Trump's. Now, that is something that needs to be communicated to them and also to be told to them clearly that if you are not going to listen to us, it's fine with us. We will handle it ourselves. So that's precisely what I think Prime Minister Modi said, and that's what precisely this government's position is. It's important to convey your message. And good thing with parliamentarians going is that they can also approach the parliamentarians. There are India, in particular countries, we have friendship committees in different places, so they can talk to them, they can talk to the leadership, and they have a mandate. So they will be going with that. But let's see how it plays out. But this has to be a continuous process. That's most important.
You're right. That brings me to another question, which I will address to General Mehra. General Mehra, we have a policy which is kind of a little high moralistic policy of being on the high table, and at times we also have our very focused policy related to our national interests. So we have a mix of the two, and in this process of balancing, we have helped Turkey in the past, right? In terms of when they had the earthquake, and also if you look at the trade between Turkey and India, the trade surpluses with India. In fact, their imports, we import very little from Turkey. It's mostly we who export to Turkey. So therefore, even from trade perspective, Turkey is quite dependent on India. Plus, tourism. I mean, everybody knows that that is something which has increased 176% from 2014 to 2025, and it's likely to increase. It would have increased further had this particular incident not taken place. So, how do you see now India moving ahead as far as Turkey is concerned from a military perspective? That is our relations with Turkey purely from a military perspective, as also how is Turkey going to behave, having been in that general area? Do you think Turkey will get cowed down by this, or have a setback, or will try to change its stance due to the combined impact of Indian government's actions as also the public action? So over to you. And you can add any other point which you want to add from your side. You are muted. You are muted. Kindly unmute yourself. Kindly, we can't hear you.
Thank you. You can hear.
Now you're okay.
Okay.
I think
Can you hear me?
problem. Now we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you. I think your connection seems to be little unstable. Hello. Cyber attack is good. Jan Mehra, can you hear us?
Okay.
Hello.
So at the outset,
Hello.
thank you. I think there is a time in the thing.
Your connection is unstable.
I can loud and
While
clear, sir.
Yeah, but your connection is not through. Can you connect on your mobile if your Wi-Fi is not working? And meanwhile, we'll continue with our discussions. Hello. Major Trivia, till the time Jan Mehra is able to sort out his connection issues, today there was an article in Times of India where it was said that the US is only looking at trade as its primary aim in this region, and therefore it is doing what it is doing today. In fact, there was the article said that they want to make Pakistan into I mean, 50 trillion potential of having rare earth elements and minerals being extracted from Pakistan. So therefore, they want to encourage Pakistan and support Pakistan, and don't want it to get become unstable. So, and Pakistan has the interest of looking at Balochistan being stable, and for that, if required, we can have the US. I mean, they don't mind having a US support so that the PLA and the Baluch military, Baluch freedom fighters are given run for their money. And so, secondly, for Bangladesh, the article said that Mr. Beach, who is the buddy of Donald Trump, Donald Jr., they went there and negotiated with Yunus, saying that we will make you a manufacturing hub so as to replace China as a manufacturing hub, and in return we'll give you a lot of investments, etc. So that's how Yunus is now giving all kinds of statements against India. I don't want to go into details of those statements, addressing Northeast as a separate entity, and then trying to encourage the Chinese to exploit the chicken, like etc. And to Turkey, they I believe have struck a deal with their Terra holding firm to carry out operations in Dubai with a firm which is owned by Donald Trump Jr. In Pakistan, the World Liberty Financials have struck a deal with Pakistan on cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, Pakistan today stands at ninth number without having any regulation. Dawn has actually come out quite. It has criticized this move of Pakistan government to actually go the cryptocurrency route, but Trump's administration has been indulging in it. So what do you have to say? What is the motivation? I mean, is he really going to just focus on trade and forget about geopolitics?
Well, he's a businessman in the first place, and one thing we have to give it to him that he has been against wars, conventional wars, as such, which as we have seen it, he has tried hard in the Russia-Ukraine war, he has tried hard in Israel-Hamas war, he is continuing to be there, and according to their own admission, they have been very much involved in the India-Pakistan spat of the recent times. So obviously, I mean, that is one thing. What he has used is he has used tariffs and trade as the new instrument of his foreign policy. And very often this may hurt them themselves. That's quite possible. But so far, according to his own estimates and his team's estimates, it has paid off. Most of the countries who are important partners have rushed to US, including us, trying to cut a deal with them, whether it is a trade deal or some kind of an arrangement on the tariffs. Because as long as he's on the seat, he will like to have the reciprocity and the parity as far as the trade is concerned. So he uses trade as a tool of his diplomacy. That's a no brainer. At the same time, you mentioned about these things. If you remember that this time in his cabinet, he has not had anybody from his family. Everybody is out because he knows this is second term, last term, and he doesn't want to jeopardize his business, and his family wants to make as much as business possible across the world. And that's what you mentioned about Pakistan, this cryptocurrency business, in Turkey, in different places. And Bangladesh is a project which is something which was there doing actually the previous administrations doing it. I have been there many times. I've served in Bangladesh, and even after Mr. Yunus came to power, I have seen that what is happening there. So the Americans are trying and are living perhaps in a some kind of illusion that they can displace China in Pakistan or in Bangladesh or elsewhere. But that's an illusion. That's not going to last much because Americans don't have the kind of a handle, economic handle that is required to do that. But these countries have also become very smart. I mean, within the region, they try to leverage India against China all the time. Now they will be also roping in Russia, roping in US, and if President Trump want to do things that Mr. Trump is pleased with. So that's what it is. And I think that their Pakistan policy has been, we have all seen that Pakistan has been a non-NATO member. It has been the CENTO ally, Z2 ally, and the Cold War ally. And so even Trump's time, this time we have seen he has given $400 million for the upkeep of these F-16s. So they'll continue to play this chessboard game with India. That's what we have to recognize at our end as well. That what kind of policies an next administration follows and how we are going to counter it by providing opportunities, engaging with them, exposing them, Pakistan, about its ulterior motives. Pakistan could not have survived had they not been able to, as I say, encash their nuisance value with the superpowers, which they do it very efficiently, and we must grant that.
You're right. Okay, General Mehra, I hope your connection is okay now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead. Can you hear us?
I can hear you loudly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better now. I think your Wi-Fi was having giving you
So you
problem.
talked about the moralistic part of India, and
Yeah, I mean traditionally, India and Turkey have
from the
never
moralistic
been
point and the
friends.
national part of it, and balancing.
Yeah. So what are your views on it? What is going to happen in
Yeah.
future
So,
as
sir,
far as India Turkey
as
is concerned?
moralistic, moralistic those aspects long behind, long back. I think there is a time now to look after our national interest rather than showing the other cheek, and that we have been doing in a very deliberated manner, be it in the 2016 or 2019 or the response during 2025. Now, having said that, as far as Turkey is concerned, sir, we have been very, very whether it was trade balancing or the tourism, encouraging to that. However, the reciprocity has not been there from the Turkey side. And that is where the problem is. So we have to call spade a spade. On this side, we keep on assisting Turkey or trying to be on good terms with that. But on the other side, what is it doing? It is continuously and perpetually arming the nation, which is the focus of terrorism for the world. You look at today the terrorism, which is the source of the terrorism, be it in the form of military aid, assistance in various forums, and that is what Turkey has been continuing doing. I think sometimes I feel we do not pull out all the punches. When Turkey talks about human rights violations in Kashmir and the aspects like that, we never remind them of the genocides that Turkey has committed against the Armenians. 1 million Armenians almost. We do not remind the Azerbaijan when they talk about these aspects about Nagorno-Karabakh region. Almost 1.1 lakh of them have almost disappeared today from Nagorno-Karabakh and come to Armenia. So I think slowly, as we are growing in stature, as we are growing in our economic strength, we are giving it back where it desires, where it is demands. And that is what I would like to put across as of now here, sir. As far as balancing aspects are concerned, every nation looks after its national interest, and so we have to look after our national interest.
On our sovereign interest, that's a given. But we have to take this entire process to a logical conclusion, and that logical conclusion can only come if we have a very focused approach by including pressure from the international community as also military behavior. Now, in sense of military behavior, what I have seen is that maybe there is a need for us to, expose Turkey's active participation in the recent Ops Sindoor operation, where they have actually moved equipment such as drones, etc., which have been also fired, which have also been destroyed by our armed forces. We have the evidence to that, and say that it has been actively supporting Pakistan. So as far as Turkey is concerned, we can equate it equal to Pakistan in terms of our adversary. Also, Turkey has been, overlooking, like Ambassador Prigrat mentioned, or you mentioned Armenia. And then, what about the Kurds? The way they have been actually treating the Kurds, that's absolutely not acceptable. Look at the approach of United States of America. They have been supporting the uh, I mean they have been using Kurds for their personal end in Syria. And once the task was over, Kurds have been just left alone. Nobody is bothered about them. Turkey has actually used the other group, Al-Tarar group, which has Al-Tarar, who has actually taken over as the president. I think we need to expose the West when we are discussing with the delegation that you cannot have double standards. When we do something, you start telling that India must go to talks. India must look for solutions through diplomacy, etc. Who will give back the they have hit the soul of India. I mean, this particular attack was hit on our soul. So I think the delegation which is going must be aggressive this time in projecting the various pitfalls of the Western nations, that is the NATO and other countries. So what are your views on that, Ambassador Trignath? And then I will ask General Mehra to comment on what we should do militarily for the future, uh, any conflict which we might have with Pakistan, knowing fully well that Turkey will be actively supporting, like Ambassador Trignath said, that I don't think Turkey is going to fall back. So first by Ambassador Trignath and then by General Mehra. Uh, do you're muted, sir?
You are absolutely right, sir. The thing is that there are nations which produce weapon systems and they sell to the whole world wherever they can. They sell more to their friends, and then they are used against the other friends, and therefore this vicious cycle goes on because the military industrial complex in the United States also is the key driving force for their foreign policy as well. So we might say that, but then Turkey has been exporting to everybody. They have been giving it to Ukraine, but they have good relations with Russia. They have been selling it to Iran, to everybody else. I mean, that's true. At Pakistan, here the thing is that we must see that exchanges between Turkey and Pakistan during this 10, 15 days, what happened? That's very important to watch. Turkey has often said that, oh, we just sent one C-130J and that was going for refueling purposes. Well, even if you were to buy it, the timing was not good. And we saw the Air Force chief, the intelligence chief, all of them of Pakistan visiting there. Then you had their naval ships going on a goodwill visit. Now we all know how it happens and how it plays out in Karachi port. So India eventually had to threaten them to leave, and then they left. So we know about Turkey's, and it is also not only in the domain of military partnership. Turkey is also expanding its footprint in South Asia in a big way. And that is in Bangladesh, for example. They are very, very active there. And so we need to see that our whole neighborhood doesn't get vitiated by these kind of approaches by Turkey. But we are in this whole thing, we have forgotten about China. The Pakistan has 81% of the Chinese equipment and military equipment. And during these 4 days, they have been able to very well have them tested. And then we, as a military man, you know that we are going to have challenges further down the line. So you are right. I mean, our delegation which is going there will need to talk about it, the double standards. But as we all know, let's be very realistic. When 9/11 happened, the Americans went and bombed the place. And before 9/11, they did not even recognize terrorism as a problem uh, as far as India was concerned. So it's only after that that they started thinking of it. Even today, they talk of, I mean, they have, President Trump met the current Syrian leader who was in ISIS, Al Qaeda, and with 10 million bounty and all that. So they've forgotten about his credentials. Then you look at Taliban. They created it. They fought with it. After 20 years, they gave the everything to them, back the power back to them. So these countries will continue to play these games up, and we will have to ourselves create our own strengths. However, try to convince the world that as far as terrorism is concerned, we are not going to have any compromise or will allow any leeway to anyone.
So, Mr. Trignath, I think there are two, three very important
I
issues
would
which
like
you
to
have
add
raised.
something to that, sir.
Yeah, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. First is he said that we have no compromise with terrorism. We'll have our own stand, irrespective of what the world says. That's a big statement. The second thing is the world. The world has to now be sensitized to our requirements. So the delegation's work is that much more important. And the third thing is that we have to increase our strength. Now, increasing our strength is the question which I want to ask John Mehra as to how should we now go about it. There would have been very realistic assessments done before we temporarily paused our military operations. I would like you to now, cover issues which we need to look at it militarily, so that in future we are not, we are not found wanting. Okay, over to you.
Yes, sir. Just one more thing before I come to the how to increase the strength and look at the military issues. Another aspect is about the focus of Turkey. What is Turkey wanting today? It is wanting to have its say, have its influence more and more in the Muslim Ummah, as also have its trade arteries directly connecting to the Central Asia and to the Southern Asia through Central Asia. And for that, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and the trade through Baku is most important as far as Turkey is concerned. So this entire concept of right from starting from Pakistan through China, through Kazakhstan, and then through Azerbaijan, Georgia, and on towards Europe. That is one aspect which Turkey is. I mean, it's a exchange. There has to be something in the US for us. I think one aspect which Turkey looks at is, I think, replacing or maybe peace in Syria, maybe replacing US forces which are already operating there. And today, with the sagging popularity of Trump, uh, getting troops back home would be a big positive, as far as 10 million bounty was shaking hands just a week back with the. Now, coming on to increase the strength, I think last couple of days we have seen so much of chest thumping. We have destroyed the bases, and we have not allowed anything to come up, whether it was Turkish or of Chinese origin or of Pakistani origin or any support, anything to harm us. Now, I think we should, at this point in time, whatever aspects of whatever strength we have shown to our enemy and to the world, we should be rest assured if something like that comes up next time, in next few weeks, months, years to come, all this that we displayed today will be of no use, because they would have found the counter for us that we are working upon. One very big positive that came out of this entire episode of 4 days, entire war of 4 days, intense war of 4 days, I should say, for the people who were on ground, is the type of air defense cover we could muster, and with a very fair mixture of indigenous as well as foreign to totally focus upon. Now, with Turkey getting additional sidewinder and medium air-to-air missiles, and Pakistani, many of these jets already having been modified by Turkey to get those. Wonder what will happen. Will there be some transfer from Turkey towards Pakistan? If not transfer of these missiles, that is Pergerin and Merlin medium and the short-range air-to-air missiles, will that be transferred to the Pakistani Air Force and the Pakistani establishment in the years to come? It is for us to see. Already, I think JF-17's aspect to Azerbaijan is a very hot thing that is happening, and integration of these missiles with the JF-17 also is the news which is out in open. So I think we have no other choice but to make sure that the aspects of Atmanirbhar that we have been working upon in India needs to continue, and we have to.
Jan Mehra, while I fully agree with you, but I also feel, and I think Ambassador Trignath will also agree with me and you also, that the fact that the government of India has released 40,000 crores as emergency procurement should explain to us as to the urgency for us to build our capabilities even in the short term. So therefore, whatever has happened till now, I think for analysts like us or experts like us, we have to put things in the right perspective. That whatever we did, I think we did it in our national interest within the limits of our current ability to take operations forward, and that is why the Prime Minister has also said that the Operation Sindoor is not yet over. So we have to now identify our so-called adversaries, which should now clearly put Turkey and China both as some kind of a factor when we are going to take any action opposite our Western borders. Therefore, sorry, our Western borders. So therefore, I feel that this is kind of a also indication for us to actually work very fast on a fast track to build our strengths, and that I would say that I fully agree with Ambassador Triphyat on that issue, and we need to find diplomatic ways and means to put our case across, whether it is in the UN, whether it is through delegations, or whether through our one of the major factors which I realized was that in the international media we had no senior personalities in the government really going out, whereas from the Pakistani side there were a lot of guys. Although some of them made a mess of themselves, that's a different issue. But had we been a little more active on that, I think we would have also been by now winning the narrative war as well abroad. Internally, we are winning the narrative war, but in the international audience also, we would have been positively painted. With that, I think we'll take some quick questions and then we'll call it an end to this particular show. Let there is a question. It says, "It's me thinking. In the end, each country wants to be profitable. The best action would be to innovate your views, sir." I mean, this is a given. Uh, Ambassador Trignath and Jal Mehra both can comment upon it. I don't think it needs any reiteration that
Yeah,
innovation.
Well, I think that there are two issues here. One is profits in business and markets, and other is the national interest. Now, every country wants to serve its national interest through its foreign policy, and which is a given. And we have to see the drivers of a country's foreign policy towards us, whether negative or positive. So it's very important to do a SWOT analysis of their foreign policy towards us. What are the drivers and what are the blocking factors? And then only you can make out some kind of a correct policy. Policies should not be driven by emotions only. The policies must be a hardcore analysis of what is good for us. I mean, we may not agree with what President Trump did, but that is the most important comprehensive global comprehensive strategic partnership you have today. So we need to deal with it in a different way. Pakistan, we know it, that is a basket case, and it will continue to be continue to have terror as instrument of foreign policy against us as long as we are there. As long as the army and the deep state is in control of the country, we'll continue to face it. Turkey also looking at Islamic ambitions. It's neo-Ottomanic ambitions of current president. So, but within these countries, are there any major groups? Pakistan is already on the verge of really, in my view, disintegration to a great extent. And can we help that is the question.
General Mehra, would you like to add anything to that? General Mehra, would you like to add anything to what Ambassador has just spoken?
And I think we are on the right path. As far as innovation is concerned, sir, there is no. Sir, as far as innovation is concerned, it goes without saying that that is the need of the hour, and we have been on the right of lots of military equipment to various countries. So that's a big thing, and this comes with the innovation and with the culture of ventures that we incubate within the country. We have the brains. The only thing is we have to give them the adequate environment to do that. And I think the focus of the government is that, and it is happening.
The next question is quite interesting and tricky. Sir, can we take on Turkey, which is a NATO member? Now,
we are not going to. Sir, there is a question. India has never gone out or occupied anybody's space. We have never attacked any country. We are not going to attack NATO. But if that is how the Turkey, which is a NATO member, joins Pakistan at some time, let's say hypothetically, in a military manner directly, then you'll have to take them on, irrespective. You see that the NATO is on a decline in many ways, and courtesy President Trump, I think it'll lose its relevance to a great extent. In any case, it is supposed to be having a defensive posture. It's only under Article 5 when their country, any NATO member, is attacked by another country that's invoked. It is not an aggressive country, although they do in a clandestine manner. That's a very different thing, or a proxy warfare. So I don't think that we are fighting NATO or fighting anybody for that matter. Even with Pakistan, we said that we are attacking the terror hideouts, and we are not attacking the. It's only when they retaliated that we had to give the response.
Our stand is, I think, very clear. We don't have to go that far. If they choose to come close to us through Pakistan, then we don't have a choice but to do that. And our stand, as Ambassador said, is very clear. Even in this hour, we targeted only the terrorist network, and we targeted the military and the other aspects in Pakistan only after they investigated it further.
Why should we overstretch? If there are other ways and means to target Turkey, we will do that, and which we are already doing it. And I think that will, in the end, bring home certain amount of messaging to Turkey. So there is another question which I thought we should take it on, and then we can conclude. This is, how can we leverage our powerful economic ecosystem against Turkey or Azerbaijan in terms of diplomacy through policies or total turn off the tunnel of business? Your views.
Sir, in the connected.
Okay, please, General sir.
Sir, in the connected world today, turning off the total business, I don't know how much profitable or how much advantage you have. For the short term, that's okay. But the type of ecosystem that we have built up, the relationships that we have built up with the US, with Russia, with Iran, and other countries, I think that is where diplomatically we need to build pressure on Turkey and Azerbaijan also. Also, as far as Azerbaijan is concerned, the aspect of the connectivity Azerbaijan becoming a transit point for the trade through INSTC or through connectivity to Russia. I think that is another way to engage it more in economic terms rather than going as far as with hammers and tongs against somebody in that matter. And as I said, sir, this aspect of terrorism, has to be highlighted. When 9/11 happened, only after that the world woke up. We were suffering terrorism for so long. Now I think this is what we need to highlight at every forum, at every place, and through every means at our disposal.
Uh, uh, Anything to add, Ambassador Prigner?
Yes, sir. I mean, I believe that, in diplomacy, uh, we have to talk to all actors. And there is no doubt that Turkey is an important country in the Eurasian landscape. And as General Mehra also brought out, in the Central Asia, in South Asia, everywhere else, they are also expanding their footprint. They are important to Americans as well as to the Russians. They are becoming the energy hub in the place. So this is something that we need to see whether, as far as we are concerned, I think that we need to continue to back them as far as possible diplomatically, also tell them and make them see some sense in the bargain. For one thing is very common, and that is normal, should be there, that if they stop talking about Kashmir, I think that will be a good achievement for us. And they had begun to do so in the recent past. And I have told their people that this particular stance of Turkey during this short war is a deciding factor. So whatever we are doing at the grassroots level, at the trade, tourism level, that's okay. But those are all temporary measures. They are not permanent measures. Because we need to also become part of the global value supply chains, and Turkey is also instrumental in that. I think that we will have to, that's why I said we need to do a SWOT analysis and then form a policy. If Turkey can be made to look at the region, we cannot just think in terms of Erdogan's forever going to continue. Some people say it's their military which runs, but he has defanged the military himself to a great extent, thinking that they were against him. So I think that there are enough possibilities and goodwill in the country that needs to be exploited to our advantage.
Just to add a little bit, sir, I was very much there in 2016-17 when the attempted coup took place in Turkey. We were in Moscow, and we we saw how it defanged all the three wings of Army, Navy, and Air Force, and even the attaches in Moscow at that particular point in time had to face the wrath of the Turkish politics at that point in time.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So I think we have come to the end. There are few comments, some questions. I'll just flash them for the benefit of our guests. This is after giving it some thought. In my measured view, the present visible purported global leadership have lost their marbles and don't know what they are doing. Your views. I think this we have discussed this particular issue, and we have also said that kind of approach which we have to take. So we will not dwell further on this issue. Similarly, the same guest is saying, like in dealing with our neighbors to the west, it may be useful to provide suitable and reasonable support to Greece to counterbalance both Turkey and its neighbor. This was referred to by me, and the delegation is accordingly going to address this particular
Yes, they're
issue.
going to Greece, yes.
So, yeah, if you see the list of countries being visited by our delegation, Greece stands in Kanimuzu. How do you pronounce the DMK's leader?
Kanimuji. Yeah.
Tanimuji. So she's leading this particular delegation, and I'm sure she would have been given the necessary inputs how to deal with this particular dynamics of Greece and Turkey to leverage what Turkey is trying to do with India and Pakistan.
Sir,
So with that,
another important factor we missed out in this entire thing was the role of Armenia, and how India is focusing on that. Armenia has been a bone of sort of क्या कहते हैं आँख का कांटा between Azerbaijan and Turkey both, and how we have dealt with Armenia is over last few years is quite a good thing. The dependence today of Armenian military on Indian defense exports is
Yeah,
almost
last
90%.
last week only we have sanctioned about $200 million worth of equipment. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. See,
Keep doing it for Turkey.
Armenia may have been the factor why Turkey and Azerbaijan have taken such a I would say intense view of anti-India action, where they have publicly announced. I mean, their statements are very public. We will support Pakistan in its endeavor to combat India. I mean, You can't have anything more clearer than this. The statement which they have made. So Armenia is one factor which is definitely there as a counterbalance. So these are the actions through which we can actually control our adversaries. Why should we reach so far out? Let them come closer to us. Let them get trapped into our trap, and then like a honey, we can do a honey trap to them. So with that, I think thanks to all of you. Thanks to Ambassador Triglia. Thanks
Thank you,
to
sir.
Jan
Thank you.
for a lovely discussion. Although in between we had some technical problems, but I'm sure next time when Jan Mehra comes,
Just,
we
just,
will not have this.
just one word, sir.
Uh,
I'm in the mountains, and there was a huge storm, and still there is a lot of
so,
lightning happening. That is the reason
so,
for I couldn't
so,
do much. All Wi-Fi's and everything around me. So I'm sorry for the
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
disturbance. I
well,
think.
no.
So when you're in next time we'll do when you're in Gurgaon. So with that, thank you very
When I'm
much
in,
and Jan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
thank
much.
you.